Hello and welcome to FM Tahiti, or I should say Yorana. I'm Pelham, and this is going to be one of a series of short special videos, not directly linked to the YouTube series. There's absolutely no Football Manager content or play in this. It's just me giving you a brief background to some of the island chains. So there'll be a video for a few of them altogether, so you can see some of the islands that the teams come from. So again, maybe that'll help you pick who you're going to be rooting for based on how cool the island is. In this one, what I'm going to do is look at the Austral Islands and the Bass Islands. So the Austral Islands and the Bass Islands kind of form a fairly strung out island chain, and in reality a lot of the islands in the Bass Islands are actually considered part of the Austral Islands, but I've separated them for the purpose of the game. We're here at Tahiti as our start point, so what I'm going to do is take us first to Rurutu. So here we are, the island of Rurutu, where the humpbacks play. If I zoom out a bit to give you a bit of context, I'll put the map view on. So over here is the Tahiti mainland. And down here is Rurutu, and this kind of chain here, going all the way down to here, is partly the Austral Islands, partly the Bass Islands. So Austral here, and then kind of Bass, we're considering to be from here. So let's zoom back in on Rurutu. So, not a bad looking island. This is where the humpbacks play, and it was kind of formed by volcanic activity over years and years. There's something called the McDonald hotspot nearby. That means a lot of these islands are sort of former volcanoes or craters and things like that. Because of this one's Rurutu's got some very kind of sheer sea cliffs and fairly sheer sort of drops after the lagoon that goes around it. Let's zoom in so you can see some of these lagoons. That looks nice, doesn't it? Really do want to go here. It's kind of a bucket list destination. But after this kind of drop off, it's actually really deep, which means a lot of humpback whales come around here, sort of visit around here for the kind of nutrients in the drop off. And because of that, you can actually spot whales from the beach pretty easily, so hence the humpbacks. We'll move on to another island. Let's go to this one here. Just trying to work out how to spell it. So this island here is Norutu, or Norutu, as I'll probably say. I think that's probably more how it is. Again, if we zoom out, so over here, this is Tahiti, is where Rurutu is. That's quite a distance between them. If you go back even further, that's Tahiti. So this is where the Norutu prisoners play. Currently in real life, pretty much an uninhabited island, but this used to be an island of exile back when there were local Polynesian kings. And at one point it was also a penal colony, which is why the fictional team set up there are the Norutu prisoners. Not a huge island setup, a few little motus as they're sometimes known within the kind of larger lagoon. Still looks very pretty, but largely inhabited, apart from, in our reality, there's a big 500-seat stadium sort of smacked right in the middle of this rainforest. Not very ecologically friendly. And let's look at the final of the Austral Islands for our game. So this is Rimitara. So Rimitara, like Rurutu, has its own airport, whereas Rurutu's got a population of about 2,400. Rimitara is a bit smaller and it's close to about 900. And again, if we zoom out, you can see over there is, to the east is Rurutu. A speck over here somewhere is where Norutu is, or Noruto. We should really work out how to pronounce the name. And then over here is French Polynesia. And you can probably see Tuamotu's island's going to be over here. Gambier Island's going to be down here at the edge where it just, that label finishes. Up around here is getting towards where the Marquesa Islands is. You see they're quite spread out. So you've got Rimitara, It's a small kind of commune system. A lot of them are kind of based on what they call commune systems, so they're not quite full villages or what we might call a traditional village. Look at some of these bays. Pretty beautiful. There's a thing here called the Pension Uene Rimitara. So if you're planning to go to French Polynesia, you can shell out thousands and thousands for some of those kind of resorts you see in like Bora Bora. Or if you're going to one of these sort of less travelled islands, you can stay somewhere known as a pension, which is basically a room in somebody's house or an annex that they've built. And it's a bit like a bed and breakfast. You might eat with the family, or you might have your own facilities making food. They'll go buy your stuff, they might show you around, and it costs much less. It's like the equivalent of paying maybe £30 or £40 a night compared to £300 or £400 a night if you're staying at one of the tropical, exotic kind of resorts with all the beach, sea and beach huts sort of moved out. So that's the Austral Islands. You can see there's those three kind of fairly closely together. If we move on now, this is see on the map it's sometimes referred to as Tupuai. It's what we've been calling Tubua or Tubue in the game. So this is where the lagunas play. It's a very pretty island again. Got the airport, got this beautiful lagoon around it before it drops off into the main ocean. Fairly impressive history for the island. So it was originally explored by kind of European explorers many years ago. So James Cook, who went on and found the Cook Islands, which are quite close to this, originally sailed by and saw the island and named it. A little while later, the mutineers from the HMS Bounty landed here. Basically got into a massive fight with everyone who was already on the island. So the original inhabitants, they were trying to take their wives as their own wives and steal their resources, stuff like that. So it kicked off, and after a couple of months, the mutineers from the Bounty left. But whenever this island's been visited, it's basically had a fair amount of bad luck. So various explorers have brought along things like smallpox and other diseases, so it brought its population right down. So there's population around about 2,200-ish, 2,200, sort of 300-ish. But it would have been historically a lot higher. And again, if we zoom out just so you can see where everything is in relation to it. Got Rimitara and Ruratu here, so you've got Union Rimitara, the humpbacks, the prisoners up there. The lagoon is here, and then more or less directly north, but across a lot of open sea, you've got Tahiti. Move on now to where the Jupiters play. Here, Reveve, or Reveve, also got a little airport here, and it's just a little bit further along from where the lagunas are. Again, every one of these islands just looks amazing. See where the current comes in. So the team here are called the Jupiters because one of the ships that originally mapped it for the Europeans was called the Jupiter, and it sailed past, waved at the inhabitants of the island, spoke to them briefly, from one boat to a canoe, and then sort of went on its way. There were visits later on where people landed, and just like everywhere else, they brought along smallpox and things like that, so the population took a fair hit. So there's about 900 people who lived there last kind of census. And if we move to the last and final island in the Bass Islands, so Tubai and Raveve are part of the Bass Islands in our game. If we go to the next one, it's Rapaiti. So Rapaiti, I'll show you. That's an amazing shape for an island. It looks like something out of a computer game. That kind of island sort of formation. So Rapaiti has links with Easter Island. So Easter Island is known as Rapa Nui. So the bigger island. Rapaiti is the little one. It's quite distant from where Easter Island is. Easter Island's more over towards Chile, or the coast of Chile, which is, doable from here, but quite far. This shape's meant to come from the fact that it seems to be from the shape of a sinking volcano. So it's formed, like a lot of the islands, by that kind of volcanic activity. It's one of the biggest islands in the Bass chain, and it is the highest population island in the real world Bass. It's got about 530, but in ours it isn't, because we've included Tubai and Rapide as part of the Bass Islands. The feral cats play here, and the reason why they're called the feral cats is because this island's got lots of wildlife, lots of birds, or I should probably say it had lots of wildlife and lots of birds. A lot of the birds, like the sort of, I think they're called the rapper fruit dove, and things like that, have been driven almost to extinction by the feral cats that live on the island. So that's why I've called them that. And if we zoom out, you can see actually that they are quite distant from the rest of these Bass Islands and from the Austral Islands. You've got the Cook Islands over there. And very, very far away from Tahiti. So if you ever play the mainlanders or the kind of Windward and Leeward Islands, or even all the way up in the Marquesas Islands, it's quite a big away trip for the fans. So I'll be surprised if more than a couple ever go. But there we have it. That's the Austral Islands and the Bass Islands. We covered the 6 teams from there. I'm going to do the same for some of the other nations as well. Thanks very much for watching.